In the prefix, everybody knows we used to be 6 wives. Can never find a flattering angle, it's okay, I guess. I'm just like deep in my dresses. Don't want that near my dresses. Honestly though, vibe. You done over there, Dinah? Do you need to go to jail? Do I have to be the cat police today? Do I have to be the kitty police? I don't want to be the kitty police. She said, come and catch me. Hi friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl, Layla here. And today I thought we'd go through a little journey. And when I say a little journey, okay, it's my journey. It is my reading journey. I am currently drinking the Dream Float Alani, which is like, I don't want to say a Fanta float, but like an orange creamsicle. There we go. Fun fact, I'm so used to calling it like a Fanta float because whenever I go to Disneyland or like the Disney parks, one of my favorite treats, especially when it's hot, is to get the Fanta float ice cream sundae, which is just vanilla ice cream. Although I guess you could get different flavors, but for like a float with the Fanta orange soda, I feel like vanilla ice cream tastes the best, which is just like a 50-50 bar. But yeah, I really like 50-50 bars, but especially like that Fanta float. It's just so good. And I love root beer floats, but like something about like the orange soda just hits differently. Like if you go to Disney, try the Fanta float. It's so good. This is definitely giving Fanta float vibes though. Also, yay for multiple bevies. I have my water here and I have my Dream Float Alani here because it's hot and your girl gotta stay hydrated, but she also gotta stay like energetic. So it'd be like that. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that got me back into my reading journey and like started me on the path that I'm on now. I think like most people, I was a huge reader when I was younger. Like that was literally my thing in elementary school, and like there on out, my mom always tells me about how when I was young, all I would do is beg her to read to me. And I mean, that is true. Like I loved being read to and I loved reading, like always from a young age. I loved reading in elementary school and middle school, and I did read a little bit when I was in high school. However, I think I did fall off of it just because of like schoolwork, and then we would have to read books for English class, and like a lot of times I just wasn't really a fan of those books, so it kind of like put me off reading because whenever I would have to read, it would be the books for English class, but they were books I wasn't quite enjoying as much as like I probably would have liked. A note about that though that I will say is that I think I would enjoy those classic novels a lot more now that I'm an adult and I understand the themes a little bit more. Like I get why it's important to learn that. Like people aren't gonna want to read if it's books that they're not really choosing or excited about. So I did read a moderate amount in high school, but it kind of just like went down. And then when I was a young adult, like after high school, I started reading a lot more again. Still not as much as I read now, but like for the time it was a lot of books. You know what's really funny? I do remember when BookTube was first a thing, and I also used to watch like All That Glitters 21 or like Elle Fowler and Juicy Star 07 Blair Fowler. Elle and Blair, they used to talk about books all the time, and I used to love like watching their videos, and then like other booktubers started popping up, and like I really should have gotten on the trend and been like on it, but I was much more of just like a regular vlogger. Like I like to do activity. One of my regrets is actually like not becoming a booktuber. I went to VidCon in 2014 and there was a booktube panel, if I remember correctly, and it was fun. I remember thinking, oh, like I should really like do more booktube stuff, but I was just into filming other vlogs and like Disney stuff at the time. So like I should have really done it. I really should have gotten on it because I feel like I was more in my social media prime back then. But with that being said, like I'm here now. I also will say too, like once I got a job out of high school,
I did not have time to read. Like, I initially tried to at first. However, I was just so mentally drained after working, and I worked such long hours that like I didn't read as much as I would have liked. And then I got a Disneyland annual pass, and that also set like a whole trajectory of my life, because I had always also loved Disneyland and Disney in general. And when I was younger and like it was during the recession, actually, let me back up. This is a lot of yapping, I understand, but like it is important to the story, I promise. When I was like a little kid, I used to go to Disneyland quite frequently because my family lived in San Diego and wasn't very far from Disney. And everyone in my family, like mostly like my grandma and my aunts and like my dad, loved Disney. My mom is like, whatever, she could take it or leave it. But with that being said, I was a Disney kid growing up, especially because my grandma like babysat me and nannied me while my parents were at work. So like, yes, I love Disney. One thing that I look at and kind of remember fondly, even though I was very young, is that I had my 3rd birthday at Goofy's Kitchen. So fun times. The recession hit, and then like I didn't go to Disneyland for years, and I remember like begging my parents like, I really want to go to Disneyland like so bad. And then like when I finally got a job, one of my friends was like, hey, we should go to Disney, you should get a Disney pass. And then like an adult with adult money, for the first time I'm like, absolutely, I should go to Disney and get a Disneyland pass. And then I just like never stopped going to Disney, and that like took up pretty much all my free time because I was just going to work and I was going to Disney, and I don't regret it at all. Like I loved it. With that being said, that really like did not leave much time for reading as much as I would have liked to, and I probably could have done audiobooks for sure. I like reading physical books, and like I still love reading physical books. For me now, it's like I read audiobooks for the most part because there's literally so many books, and because I also do kind of work long hours, although now I work in an office now, it's a little bit easier to get through as many books as I would like to because of audiobooks. Like when I wasn't reading a whole ton, I'm like, I need the actual book in front of me, which I feel like is pretty fair in a reading journey. Like if I don't read a whole lot, like having the actual physical book is great. And then I also read like a few books on the Kindle app on my phone because I was like, oh, like I also didn't have a lot of space to have books because I live with my parents, and I had a singular bookshelf, and it was like a shared bookshelf. I used to have another bookshelf, but then I shared a room with my little sister, and like the other bookshelf got removed out. But yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of room, so I was reading books on the Kindle app, which was fine, but it was just on my phone and it kind of hurt my eyes. So like that was like the other thing. I feel like if I did also have like an actual Kindle, I probably would have read on the Kindle, but you know, I don't know because that never happened. And me working and like just going to Disney, like that all stayed the same from like 2014, 15, all the way up until 2020 when, you guessed it, the pandemic happened. And let me just put this out there. I was an essential worker and I worked through the pandemic, so I still did not have a lot of time to read. I really didn't, because I was working more than I had like ever worked. But with that being said, I had the opportunities to do some traveling for work and some work assignments, and it was actually in Arizona. I was able to network, and then that is what led me to move to Arizona. And this is where the story really picks up, because it was around November of 2020 when I first moved, and I really didn't have much. I only really had a truck full of stuff that my dad helped me move, like with my bed, my dresser, and some like kitchen stuff. And then in my car, which I had a Mustang convertible, so like not much space. I put as many clothes as I could in my car. Once I moved in and like got settled and everything, I was like, oh crap, because I had literally 0 books in my new apartment and like my new home. And I have always grown up believing and like just feeling this in my soul that like a house without books is not a house at all. And so I just suddenly felt super empty. Like even if I wasn't reading books before, like I did buy books with the intention of reading them, and I just didn't have any with me, and I suddenly panic. So I went to Target and I bought a few books, and then I went to Goodwill and I bought a few books. So we started off with that. And then I don't remember if this was Christmas or New Year's Day, or it was sometime between maybe Christmas and New Year's in 2020. I started watching the TV show on Netflix, Bridgerton. One of my friends, Emma, like, she had messaged me and my other friend in our group chat like, hey, you should watch this new show on Netflix. And I was like, okay, sure. And then I watched Bridgerton and it literally blew my mind and became like my new obsession, my new favorite thing. And then I found out that it was based off of a book series, and hear me out, I had always loved Pride and Prejudice. That was one of my favorite books, one of my favorite classic novels. I just ate it up. I loved it. In high school, I was in theater. Yes, I was a theater kid. Are we surprised? Really? One of the plays that we did my senior year was Pride and Prejudice, and I played Mrs. Bennet. Anyway, I knew I loved that time period, and then like with Bridgerton, that was like a whole like another level. So like obviously your girl was obsessed, and I got the books. These aren't the copies that I bought, like this is another copy, but I immediately like devoured all the Bridgerton books and I was obsessed. My favorite Bridgerton book is An Offer from a Gentleman, which is Benedict's book, which I am so excited for the next season of Bridgerton. Like, Bridgerton really changed, I don't want to say like, again, the trajectory of things, but it did, because like I loved that series so much that I was like, I just need more of this now. And then with reading the books, I just realized how much I loved reading and how great it was. Or I didn't realize, like I rediscovered that feeling of like being so obsessed and like loving something so much, and it was like such a high. But yes, I gotta show a moment of appreciation for this. I only have the first 4 books in the series. I need to get the last 4, but I just haven't because I like don't have any more shelf space, but I also want the matching set. This is The Duke and I. This is probably my least favorite book in the series, but it was still really good and it kept me hooked. My dear Miss Bridgerton, he said, wiping his eyes, if you are the soul of kindness and amiability, then the world must be a very dangerous place. And I thought that this was one of the prettiest books I have ever seen, so yeah, I love it. I want to say a lot of people probably didn't start off their rediscovery of loving reading with Bridgerton, but if you did, I would love to hear. But yeah, I love Bridgerton. I was like watching a lot of YouTube videos and TikTok videos about like the series and the books, and I was just like fully into this. I want to say that that was really like the push to get me back into reading in like step 1. And step 2 actually has to do with a book subscription service, and that book subscription service is Book of the Month. Now, they had been on my Instagram ads and like my TikTok ads forever, and I had like thought about it, but like again, when I lived at my parents', I didn't have a whole lot of space for books, so I was just like, nah, I don't need to do it. But then when I moved on my own and I looked into it, I was like, you know what, I am trying to build up my book collection, so I started a Book of the Month subscription, which was super fun. There are a few key books that I got from that subscription service which I loved, and let me show you. Some of these books will probably be no surprise. Some of the first books that I got that I really loved were these books by Evie Dunmore. I believe that this is the League of Extraordinary Women series, with Bringing Down the Duke and A Rogue of One's Own. I feel like these go very like hand in hand together because they're both historical romance. To this day, I still love historical romance, but I think I do lean a little bit more towards fantasy romance now. But yes, I read these 2 books and I was obsessed. These were the only 2 out at the time, and I have read the other 2 books in the series, but I still think that these 2 are the strongest of the series, and they definitely like encourage me to keep reading and like encourage my love of reading. In addition to that, we have another very popular book, and this book is one that a lot of people start their reading journey off on. That book is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I also have and read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I don't know where that is. I was looking for it and I couldn't find it, but yes, I really love this. I thought it was pretty unique, and this is still kind of like historical type fiction. I thought it was really fun. I thought I really loved the interview style of the book, and I just really enjoyed it. Definitely kept me on my toes and was like super engaging. Again, I love The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Dare I say I love The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo more than Daisy Jones and the Six. And then we get into my contemporary romance era because I have two books here, and they're both now two of my favorite authors, and I've talked about them in videos before, so that should be no surprise to you when I share People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry by Ali Hazelwood. And fun fact, I think that these two are my top books by each author. First of all, Grumpy Sunshine is one of my favorite tropes, and I know that this is fake dating, but like I just loved it so much. And I know that it's based off of Raylo fan fiction, but hear me out. I just love Adam and Olive. There is a quote from Adam that I still think about to this day, and it's like him talking to Olive and being like, I wish that you saw yourself how I see you. And I just love this so much. Adam and Olive are one of my favorite book couples, and like when they first met and she was like blind is one of my favorites, and I love that he's just very brooding, and like it almost in a way also reminds me of Pride and Prejudice, like the brooding Mr. Darcy. And I don't want to say like Elizabeth is more sunshiny. I love The Love Hypothesis. I could go on about how much I love this book probably forever. And then People We Meet on Vacation was so good. I just thought it was so fun with the dual timelines. I really love the main characters in this. I just really loved Poppy and Alex, because best friends to lovers is also one of my favorite like tropes. And this is like one of the first books that I read with that trope. I'm also like so ecstatic for this movie. I remember reading this immediately and being like, holy crap, they need to make a movie out of this. And I really want them to put the song Vacation by the Go-Go's. Isn't that who sings it? Like, vacation, all I ever wanted. Vacation, all I ever needed. Anyways, I think of that song when I think of this book. Yeah, this was like my first like foray really into contemporary romance, because I had read contemporary romance before, but like not like this. I adored both of these books, and I still love both of these books. If you are wanting to get into contemporary romance, these are a great place to start, either of these. Another book that I absolutely loved that I got from my book of the month that I am not going to show you because it's behind a bunch of books, and I'm not going to rearrange my bookshelves for this right now any more than I already have, is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. That was my first Rebecca Ross book that I read, and it was a very like cozy fantasy mystery. And then there was like one series that I saw everywhere and everyone was like so into it, and it had been around for a while. I just didn't get to it, and like I picked up the book. I just had it on my shelf for months because this is when I was like trying to read my book of the month books. Finally, one day I decided to pick it up, and like my life has never been the same since. And that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And listen, I know that this is so stereotypical. When people say that this book will get you back into reading, this book will get you back into reading. Like, it was everything that I already liked to begin with, but then it was all wrapped up in a pretty little bow. Because we already know that I'm a Disney girl, right? Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite Disney movies, and like it's just one of my favorite like fairy tales. And I loved fae and like fairies. And I just thought that this was so good. And like, actually, let me be so for real. When I first read this, I was like, it's okay, but like it super grew on me. And then I read A Court of Mist and Fury, and like, whoo, I literally just reread Akamath. I got the graphic audios for it and I listened to it while I was working, because I'd been wanting to do a reread of this for a while because I've only read it once. And I just, A Court of Mist and Fury truly is what takes the cake. Like, this book is good, but it's like a prequel to like the whole world, I would say. And A Court of Mist and Fury just is spectacular. I could go on and on about Akamath, and then obviously I read A Court of Wings and Ruin and A Court of Frost and Starlight, and then A Court of Silver Flames. My favorite 2 books in the series are A Court of Mist and Fury and A Court of Silver Flames. And I think that they're all good, but just both of those 2 books really got me. And it was like after I read this, I was so obsessed with reading and I wanted to chase this high and just read all the romantasy and fantasy. After reading this, something just clicked within me and I was obsessed. I was a woman who couldn't stop reading. This was the turning point that like pivoted me to like where I am today. And this is what made me want to read like literally so many books, and I can't read books fast enough now, to be honest. After I read ACOTAR and was like super in my ACOTAR hangover, I read a series that had been popular when I was a young adult, but I didn't read it at the time. That was The Selection, and I really did like The Selection, but I will say this, I like the first 3 books of The Selection. I will say The Heir and The Crown, which is like the next gen of The Selection, it was just alright. Like the first 3 books were really fun. But yeah, I would say like the most influential books probably here are the Bridgerton, ACOTAR, and then maybe like The Love Hypothesis / People We Meet on Vacation. And now I just, again, I have not stopped reading since, and I have read like 200 or 300 something books. I don't even know. I've read a lot. And I have, since moving to Arizona, I have accumulated hundreds of books. This is like really awkward. I don't want to drop all these books, like truly. If you're looking to get back into reading, or you're looking for a book that will just blow your mind, then I suggest any of these books or series. I would like to hear from you guys. Were you avid readers when you were younger? And did you fall out and like back into reading when you got older? Let me know down in the comments and tell me what books specifically got you back into reading, because this is such a fun discussion and I love hearing what got people back into reading. You know, I don't know like the exact saying off the top of my head, but they do say that when you're an adult, you'll return back to the things that made you happy as a child, and like reading definitely made me happy. I also, as a child, I loved Disney. So yeah, it's funny how like a lot of things interconnect. I hope you guys have a lovely day or night or whenever you're watching this, and I will see you guys next time to chat more about books or Disney. Bye-bye.